a prestigious hospital at the heart of a modern city. An Asian nurse just fresh out of school, stepping in, thinking her job was simply to care for patients. But then a mysterious patient arrives, with no records, no relatives, and an old notebook that could change the entire healthcare system. Can someone who seems invisible bring light to a place that seems flawless? And who is he really? You're watching Mystic Life Stories for American Audience, where true, strange, and deeply emotional stories are told, where goodness prevails and justice finds its voice. If you enjoy tales filled with mystery, emotion, and unexpected endings, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss what's next. Mercy General. The cleanest place, but the hardest to breathe. Portland greets the morning with a thin veil of mist stretched across glass buildings. Inside Mercy General, the city's pride in modern medicine, everything seems perfect. Gleaming white hallways, state-of-the-art machines, and staff in white coats like characters from a prime-time medical drama. Then came Maya Chen, a young Asian nurse with neatly tied black hair, bright eyes, and a fresh folder in hand. She walked through the hospital's revolving doors with a mix of excitement and unease. This was her first job after graduating with honors. Mercy General was her dream, but she would soon realize sometimes dreams come wrapped in prejudice. The receptionist looked at Maya like she was an unfamiliar dish on a fancy French menu. A blonde nurse, her lipstick so bright it could blind, glanced up and said, "Oh, the new hire? Dr. Holt's office? End of the left hallway? The door's as cold as his personality." The tone was joking, but behind it lay a chilly message. Maya nodded, smiled, the practiced social smile she'd perfected to survive in majority environments. As she walked down the hallway, phones seemed to lower, eyes glanced sideways, measuring. Strange. Why would they hire someone like that? Dr. Richard Holt, the department chief, was a silver-haired man who spoke as briskly as a 3-day antibiotic prescription. After a handshake cold as refrigerated steel and a curt greeting, he skimmed Maya's file and muttered, "Let's hope you're not here just for some diversity quota. At Mercy General, ability is the only thing that counts." Maya froze for a second, but quickly regained her professional smile. She was used to the accidental words steeped in not-so-subtle bias. In just her first week, Maya was assigned back-to-back night shifts with the most difficult patients, grumpy ones, or one who just threw soup at the last nurse. Meanwhile, her colleagues relaxed, chatted, ordered bubble tea, and shared cases like playing Uno. On Tuesday night, while retrieving gauze in the supply room, Maya overheard giggles behind the curtain. "Want to bet? I give her 2.5 weeks. Haha, we should start a pool. She looks sweet, but she'll crash fast." Maya stood still. Part of her wanted to storm out and ask, "Am I a joke to you?" But she knew reacting would only feed their labels. Too sensitive, not a team player. That night, she returned to her dorm, opened her phone, and called the one person who'd always been her anchor, her grandmother. The screen lit up, revealing a wrinkled but sharp-eyed face. "Maya, dear, how's it going?" "Not quite what I expected, Grandma. I'm apparently the subject of bets here." Maya laughed, but her voice wavered with sadness. Her grandmother paused for a few seconds, then said in a warm yet steel-strong voice, "They may call you a spark, Maya, but you don't need their permission to shine." That wasn't just encouragement. It was fire. It was power. Maya ended the call, opened her notebook, and wrote, "No one decides your light but yourself." The next morning, Maya returned to the hospital, ready for another long day. She didn't know that elsewhere in the building, a new patient had just checked in, James Harper. No relatives, no detailed records, just a VIP card and a soft smile whenever someone looked him in the eye. But that's a story for later. For now, Maya was stepping into the labyrinth that is Mercy General, where modern medicine meets ancient bias, where advanced technology can't erase invisible walls, and where just one steady spark might crack through concrete. You're watching Mystic Life Stories for American audience, where stories that seem small have the power to shake entire systems. If you believe that kindness and justice always find their way, hit that subscribe button and help us continue spreading goodness. An unusual encounter with an unusual patient. Wednesday morning started like any other. A patient list as long as an old ringtone playlist, the steady beep-beep of heart monitors echoing down the halls, and a lukewarm, bitter cup of coffee, the signature flavor of the inpatient ward. Maya remained calm as always. Those strange glances and whispered remarks still swirled around her like Portland's mist. She held on to her smile and professionalism. But that morning, something unusual happened. The head nurse called her over and said, "Maya, you've been assigned a new patient in room 307, VIP case, but the file's nearly empty." Empty? A VIP patient with no information, no medical history, no family, no current medications, just a name. James Harper. Maya nodded. She was used to the oddities at Mercy General, but this time, something felt different. Room 307 sat at the end of a quiet corridor, where special patients were usually placed. Maya entered, holding a clipboard and her medical kit. But the first thing she saw wasn't medical equipment. It was a smile. James Harper sat upright in bed, both arms in casts, likely due to an accident, though his eyes showed no trace of pain. He looked at Maya as if he'd been expecting her. "You're Maya Chen, right?" he asked, without needing an introduction. "Yes. I'll be taking care of you during your stay here." James nodded, then chuckled. "People say hospitals are the saddest places on earth, but if everyone greeted me with a voice like yours, I might have to rethink that." Maya smiled faintly. Not because of the compliment, but because of the way he spoke, not forced politeness, and definitely not the condescending tone she'd come to expect from wealthy patients. He shared that he'd fallen while skiing in Colorado. Don't ask why someone over 60 is still skiing down mountains. It's how I keep from rotting away in boardrooms. The line made Maya laugh. Around him, she felt lighter, a rare sensation since she arrived at Mercy General. In the following days, Maya cared for James consistently. Even with both arms in casts, he often joked, "You have to believe I once wrote 30-page reports in a single night. Now I can't even jot down my lunch order. Life's funny, isn't it? The writer becomes the reader." One afternoon, while changing his bandages, James asked unexpectedly, "Maya, how have people been treating you here?" The question made her pause for a moment. She was tempted to say fine, her usual response. But the look in James's eyes wasn't one of casual curiosity. It was the look of someone who had seen a lot and wasn't easily fooled by polished answers. "There are a few things to get used to," Maya replied, trying to balance honesty and professionalism. James didn't comment, just nodded. After a pause, he reached beside his bed and pulled out an old leather-bound notebook, its edges worn with time. "I want you to have this. Not because I'm old and nostalgic, but because inside are thoughts I jotted down when I was younger than you, back when I was a bit of a rebel in a system full of rules." Maya hesitated, then opened it. Inside were brief handwritten notes. "Reforming broken systems is never easy, but silence helps no one. Don't seek validation. Seek alignment." She looked up to ask more, but James only smiled. You'll understand one day. Sometimes the only person who dares speak the truth is the one with nothing left to lose. The next day, when Maya came in with medication, she noticed something odd. Dr. Holt, usually colder than a popsicle, was standing in the room wearing a grin like he'd just won the lottery. "Mr. Harper, I'm so pleased to hear you're receiving excellent care. Maya here is one of our new nurses, quite promising." Maya nearly choked on air. The man who had once scowled at her during morning rounds was now praising her. In front of a patient? James looked at them both. His nod was vague, not agreement, not rejection. After Dr. Holt left, James turned to Maya and smiled slightly. "I think he enjoys performing more than I expected. If I were a TV producer, I'd cast him as the villain." Maya laughed, not just because the line was funny, but because for the first time, someone was truly on her side, even if only through a simple glance and a clever remark. What she didn't know was that the man with the casts and the old notebook wasn't just a patient. He was the one holding the key to tear down Mercy General's carefully constructed facade. But that is a story for later. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. Stories like Maya and James Harper's aren't just in books. They happen in real life, and Mystic Life Stories for American Audience is always here to bring them to you. A surgery that cut through more than a body, it cut through the system. Friday morning. The sky over Portland was a blanket of gray, as if even the weather knew something big was about to unfold inside Mercy General. Maya was preparing the shift assignment board when the head nurse approached, her expression more serious than usual. "Maya, you've been assigned to assist in an emergency surgery at 10 a.m. The patient has a tumor compressing the carotid artery. We need someone quick, composed, and silent, unless absolutely necessary." The announcement sent a chill down her spine. This type of surgery was typically reserved for experienced staff. Maya blinked. "Why me? I've never assisted in this kind of procedure before." The head nurse didn't answer. She merely glanced toward the end of the hallway, where Dr. Holt stood, hands in his pockets, eyeing Maya with an unreadable expression. She understood. This wasn't an opportunity. It was a trap. Operating room number 3 was cold like a walk-in freezer. Bright white surgical lights beamed down onto the table like a stage spotlight. Only this time, the lead actor lay still, and there was just one shot at survival. Maya took her position, mask on, gloves tight, eyes fixed on the heart monitor display. Dr. Holt stood with scalpel in hand, voice flat and composed. "Let's begin. Miss Chen, stay put. Don't touch anything unless instructed." The procedure unfolded in tense silence. Suddenly, Maya noticed something. The dosage of anesthetic being prepared didn't match what was written in the patient's chart. Her heart pounded. If administered, it could trigger anaphylactic shock due to the patient's underlying cardiac condition. She glanced at the other nurses. No one else noticed. Maya spoke up, voice calm but firm. "Dr. Holt, I'm sorry, but this lidocaine dosage, it appears to exceed the safe limit for a patient with a heart condition." The operating room froze for a second. Dr. Holt looked up, eyes flashing like he'd been challenged. "You think you know better than I do? Who are you to interrupt me during surgery?" I only want to ensure the patient's safety." The silence was so thick you could hear people breathing. Even the anesthesiologist gave a slight nod. At last, Dr. Holt ground his teeth and muttered, "Change the dosage, as per Nurse Maya's suggestion." The surgery was a success. The patient stabilized. But Maya knew this wasn't over. After removing her gloves, she was summoned directly to the third-floor storage room, a place rarely used, the perfect setting for conversations no one should hear. Dr. Holt stood waiting, arms crossed, gaze sharp as a scalpel. "Who do you think you are? Smarter than people with 25 years of experience?" Maya stood still. Her heart pounded, but her gaze didn't falter. "Don't think your straight A's will get you ahead of others. And don't imagine. Your little minority status scares anyone. You're just a quota hire. Nothing more." That was when Maya trembled. Not from fear, but from long-suppressed outrage. She wanted to respond, but then her side bag slipped off. James Harper's notebook spilled out, flopping open. A small piece of paper fluttered out, landing gently between them. Holt glanced down, ready to kick it aside. But Maya was faster. She bent to pick it up and saw the handwritten line. "Trust the ones who see your worth." She exhaled slowly. It was a note James had once given her. Not just words, but armor, arriving at the very moment she needed it. Maya lifted her head. Her eyes no longer held fear. "I don't need your validation. Someone already sees my worth, and he's watching everything that happens here." That sentence stopped Holt for a moment. Then he sneered, "Don't fool yourself. No one's on your side in this system." Maya simply smiled. This time a real smile, not a professional mask. She walked out of the room, but what she didn't know was that the room wasn't entirely empty. Just behind the two-way mirror of VIP room 308, a silver-haired man sat upright in bed, his eyes glowing quietly like moonlight on a still lake. James Harper. And he had heard everything. Have you ever felt small in a massive system? Then this story is for you. And if you're seeking empathy, encouragement, or simply a little hope, join our community by hitting that subscribe button now. James Harper, a man far from ordinary. When Maya walked out of the storage room, she had no idea that every single word Dr. Holt had just spoken, each and every line, had reached the ears of someone who held the power to change the fate of Mercy General. James Harper, the seemingly invisible VIP patient, with an empty medical file and both arms in casts, was now sitting upright in his bed, his eyes sharp as a blade honed in silence. Room 308, where he was being treated, had been built to high-security executive standards, including a one-way glass wall connected to the storage area. He had heard everything. That afternoon, Maya was summoned to the hospital director's office. No reason was given, no time to prepare. Her legs felt like stone as she walked down the hall, convinced this might be the abrupt ending to her short chapter at Mercy General. But when she stepped inside, she saw not just Dr. Holt and the hospital director, but a man in a dark, tailored suit seated at the center like a judge. James Harper, no longer the patient with jokes and casts. Now he carried the presence of a CEO who'd sat through 1,000 board meetings and could move stock prices with a single nod. "Maya, thank you for coming," he said, his eyes kind but commanding. The hospital director glanced at Maya, offering a strained smile. "You probably don't know. Mr. Harper is the chairman of the board at Genesis Health, the primary funder of our hospital." Maya froze. Genesis Health was a name every hospital bowed to. A powerhouse controlling billions in funding and shaping the future of hundreds of medical institutions across America. And the man she'd bandaged, chatted with, the one who gave her an old notebook, was the very person leading that organization. The room grew dense with silence. James Harper looked directly at Dr. Holt. "I've heard everything that happened this morning, and I've been watching your professional conduct since the day I was admitted." Dr. Holt stiffened, struggling to stay composed. "Sir, I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. Everything. There's been no misunderstanding, Harper cut in, voice colder than ice. I stayed silent long enough to observe whether Mercy General lived up to the reports. Innovative, compassionate, and inclusive. Regrettably, only two of those words are accurate. Innovative in terms of machines. The rest, masterful pretense. The room was breathless. Harper turned to Maya. You've acted with integrity, courage, and put patient safety above personal pride. You're not just a nurse, oh no, you are proof that medical ethics don't care about race, gender, or age. He stood, placing his hands firmly on the table. I'm calling for a full investigation into acts of racial discrimination, biased management, and ethical violations within this hospital. Starting with Dr. Holt. Dr. Holt went pale, preparing to defend himself, but Harper said a single line that shut him down like a valve. I thought doctors were meant to fix problems. Turns out all you fixed is your ego. The hospital director wiped sweat from his brow, but Harper wasn't done. And I'm also recommending Maya Chen take on the role of Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, effective immediately. She will lead the cultural reform of Mercy General. Maya stood still, her mind spinning like a top. Everything was moving so fast, but deep in her heart, one truth stood out. She had been seen and trusted, not out of pity, but because she deserved it. Harper looked at her, the edge of a smile forming. I've seen too many capable people buried by outdated systems. But sometimes all it takes is one voice to make the walls start to crack. News spread like wildfire in midsummer. The whole hospital buzzed. People who once scoffed or bet on her quitting early now quietly avoided her gaze. That evening, in room 308, Harper, now cast free, looked at Maya standing by the window, Portland's breeze drifting in gently. I know you're going to change a lot of things, Maya. I don't know if I'm strong enough, she whispered. You don't need to be strong enough, Harper said with a grin, lifting his teacup. You just need to not stay silent.